kind of avoid it or think, oh, I'm doing sort of fine, I think, maybe, but we're not on top of it. And it's often fear based because we feel like it's just so big and intimidating and there's so much to know. And it's just like, I got other stuff to do right now. And I realized that when I was working through my early 20s and I was like, man, I have to get ahead and well, not get ahead, but like do my best at my job and be really good at stuff and, put my money somewhere sort of maybe and just get on with work and sort of then, put money into saving sort of and investing sort of, but I don't know what I'm doing. I realized that when I got a little bit older, I realized how many gaps I had in my financial knowledge. And I feel like a lot of us suspect we have a lot of gaps in our financial knowledge and don't really know what to do about it. So, in my personal experience, I said, okay, I have been interested in this topic for a long time, overwhelmed by it, completely intimidated, feeling like I don't have answers. And even though I hang out with like all these different finance people in different types of finance, including financial advisors, I don't seem to be able to get any like clear path on the simplest way to just get this financial stability basic foundation sorted so I can take the next steps. And that's why I created MoneyMind, to create this foundation. Now, remember, MoneyMind wasn't created as a business first. I went through feeling really financially insecure and then and this, okay, please keep in mind this can be regardless of how much money you have. It can be, you can be working hard, making loads and still be like, oh, there are certain bits of my finances that I'm not on top of and I'm just going to kind of ignore them. So this is not an amounts an amounts situation. You may be working a lot, your partner may be working a lot, but you leave the finances to somebody else, or we just don't really talk about that in our house, or it's just not really discussed. Now that is definitely what I experienced, and I have noticed through a lot of conversations trying to uncover other people's experiences in this area, it seems to be a common theme that we kind of don't talk about it or avoid it or try and want to leave it to somebody else. Now, nobody else is going to look after our money as well as we are. So if we're looking after it badly, it's going to leave. It's just going to go. And this topic today is about the 3 huge money mistakes that I've noticed through having hundreds of conversations with hundreds of different people over years on this topic. 3 huge money mistakes that people make, and some suggestions from my opinion based being non-financial person. Okay, so nothing that I ever talk about is ever going to be advice. I have no qualifications to give advice. These are just my opinions based in what I find has worked for me and what I would do if I had these situations, generally often based on what I have done being in most of these situations. So MoneyMind was actually created because when my husband and I decided it was a great opportunity for him to found a startup, we went into startup life, and that was a real shock to the system. It's amazing and successful and everything, but it really revealed a lot of my financial insecurities in terms of my knowledge base gaps when we first started. Right? So any big change of life is really going to do this. If you move house, if you change countries, if your kids leave home, if you have a new baby, if you get married, if you're just getting into a relationship, like you're going to start to notice that there are things that are there and maybe not really talked about, but you still kind of need to know. You need to know how you're going to manage this area moving forward in your life. And this is a theme through your whole life. Now, that's what's so interesting to me, is that we can spend, and I have spent so many years, we can spend every few years of our life thinking, oh, I should probably get on top of that, and then just leave it. And then we'll have other life changes and think, oh, I should probably get on top of that and leave it. We can go through so much or all of our life thinking that we're going to sort it out later. And then we're dead. Like, it's like later never comes. And you know, that's the thing with later. It definitely doesn't ever arrive. Later is always later. So I'll do it later is usually the best way to not do something. Unless you put it in your schedule and have a date and then do it on that date instead of moving it to later again. So later is the biggest thief of time. Is procrastination is the biggest thief of time, but procrastination is just doing stuff later, right? So if you want to get stuff done in your life, just if it takes like less than 10 seconds to do, clean it or do it. If it takes less than an hour to do, slot it in and do it. Otherwise, it just won't get done. And if you can break it down into little 1 hour blocks, if it's something bigger, then why not do that? Just allocate the time and just get it done, because otherwise later will steal your financial stability and your financial future right out from under you. And here's the sad part that we don't want to admit. We're doing that to ourselves. We are stealing our own financial future from under ourselves by giving it sneakily to later. Later we'll take off with our financial future, and we have given our financial future away. So it's so sad because a lot of us don't realize that we're doing that just by our actions not doing stuff. So even though we're not doing something, that's still an action. It's a choice not to do a different action. Our choice is to do whatever we're doing instead of that other action. And there are so many other priorities in life. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's not a lot to do. I am saying that we'll prioritize what is the most important to us. And a lot of us don't feel like our finances are a priority because they don't feel as urgent as another appointment or scheduling or work or a boss being in our ear. But the fact is that if you look at, I can't remember the name of that chart, but you look at like what's urgent and important, and then urgent and not important. Sometimes our finances will slot into the category of being like not urgent and important, but not urgent. And so we'll kind of try and siphon it like, oh, it's not important to do now. Even though the fact is that every day we're not taking action on our finances, we're losing money somehow, either by real depreciation in the bank or by it frittering away. And what we need to know is that it's so easy to have just a little plan in place so that we can leave it there and have it doing its own thing, but actively doing its own thing, and then just keep an eye on it, right? It's like taking our puppy or our kid to like a play group. We take it there and then we let them play, and we're keeping an eye on them, but we don't have to micromanage every single part. Like, we're not trying to teach them something and this is how you do this part. We actually just know how it goes once we've plugged them into that playgroup situation. And that's what we want to do with our finances, in terms of if we're a bit nervous about having to manage stuff all the time. In my opinion, I personally choose to go the easier way with my financial management and just make decisions that are not going to be really high management based, where I have to do a lot of high pressure stuff on a daily basis. Because a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I have to, if I want to be on top of my finances, I have to do all this stuff all the time. And what I have realized, at least with the way that I manage my finances, is I really don't. Like, now it's gotten to the point where I enjoy looking for other investments to get and things like that. But aside from that, I just want to keep an eye on what things are doing, but it's already there doing the thing. So I don't have to really manage that anymore. I have my will in place. I have investments in place. I have, the savings in place. So it's just kind of rolling on. And I just need to make sure that that continues. And that's an easy way anyone can manage their own finances if they want. That's just how I do it. But we'll jump straight into, after this very long ramble, the 3 huge money mistakes that people make. And I've sort of rambled over parts of it. I'll go straight into the 3 points now. 1, avoidance. 2, not investing. 3, taking on too much risk. Those 3 huge money mistakes that people make: 1, avoidance. 2, not investing. 3, taking on too much risk. Okay, so I'm going to mention this in the context of Money Mind and the courses that we offer and the free samplers that we offer so that people can get an eye line on where they're at in terms of these areas. So, avoidance, right? Recognize if any of these resonate with or have a little bit of an alarm bell for you. Avoidance. This is me, like me 1000%. Okay, I was totally like money avoider. I was making money, but I was like, I don't know how to manage this. So I'm just going to try and avoid it, even though that didn't make any sense. But avoidance, number one, avoidance is fear based. Scared that we don't know how to manage, scared that we don't know what to do, how we don't know the steps to take, that we'll make a mistake, that we're just, it's a lot of fear. So if you are avoiding your money stuff, it's always somewhat fear based, and that is for whatever reasons it may be. You know, I'll do it later, or this is too much, or it just seems intimidating. It's in our head and it's fear based. And if something is in our head, that makes it very, very real for us. So it's really worth considering that we can't just snap ourselves out of being fearful about something. We have to gain our own trust in an area so that we don't feel as fearful about it. It's like, think of it really, your prefrontal cortex is the decision-making part of your brain. The limbic system is the childlike part of your brain. And it's so easy to think of your brain in this way in terms of why you're making different money decisions, because your decision part will say, I want to do this, and I want to budget, and I want to blah, blah, blah. And your limbic brain, which is when you feel scared, nervous, stressed, will be making childlike decisions like, I don't want to. I don't know how. I am scared. Leave me alone. And it would just want to avoid things because it doesn't feel safe. So what we want to do is, if we are feeling avoidance about our money, it's best for us to probably say, okay, one, am I avoiding this? Am I the type of person who says, oh, it'll work out, you know, like down the road, long term, like it'll work out at some point. You know, I don't need to do it right now. I've got other things to do, blah, 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 blah. Like 1 million excuses insert here. Okay. And these excuses our brain will find, and they will be totally valid. Okay. They won't be like make believe things that we don't believe, because we want to avoid the money stuff, because we feel fear about it, about facing it. We will make up excuses that are totally plausible and really, really believable and very valid, right? These things won't be non-applicable. There will be things that we make up to believe because our brain will make up whatever it is that we can tell ourselves and believe to reinforce the original intention. Okay, now I don't know if that made sense, but that was pretty heavy, and that's really applicable to any area of your life. If you believe something, your brain will come up with reasons to reinforce why it's true. That's why your mindset work, mindset coaching is all so important, because if you don't change your beliefs, you will just keep believing the stuff that you currently believe because you haven't changed it. And you can change it if you like. It's just a lot of people aren't aware that they can change it. And a lot of people don't want to because it feels safe and comfortable. And it's easier to believe that than I can put in hard work to change this. There's a lot of us don't really want to put in the hard work. I mean, we got stuff to do, right? Like, but if we want to affect change in our life, we got to put in work to affect change, because like moving anything, you want to move a sofa from here to there, just staring at it and thinking about it isn't going to make any difference. You can complain all you like about the sofa still being there in the way right in front of the door instead of like in front of a TV where it's way more convenient. But unless you actually push that sofa to be in front of the TV, it is going to sit in front of your door with you complaining about how inconvenient it is for the rest of your life, or until someone else does it. And the thing with our money is, if we're waiting for someone else to do it, they will make off with our sofa. They will make off with our money, because money, if we don't take care of it, will leave. So number one, huge money mistakes that people make. 1, 2, 3. 1 is avoidance. 2 is not investing. 3 is too much risk. So number 1, avoidance. If this is you, notice. It'll work out later. I'll do it later. If you say the word later at all, this may be you. Okay, check it. Do you say the word later about your money stuff at all? Later, check it. Now, if you are using the word later in your money stuff, you might, if you've said it more than once, okay, more than like, oh, I'll do that later, and then you do it in like 1 hour, okay, that's a legitimate later. But most of us, we're not doing it in 1 hour. We're not doing it the next day. We're not doing it the day after that. We're latering it until we can kind of forget about it, even though it's in the back of our mind. So if you are number one, biggest money mistakes, avoidance, thinking it'll work out, ask yourself, what is the outcome if I stay on this path? I won't have a will. I won't have investments. I won't have enough for retirement, or I will just fritter away my money and live exactly how I'm living today, but in different stages of it, of my life cycle. And what happens if I can't work or when I'm retired? What is the outcome of this path right now? If I do it later and I'm 70 years old, doing it later, what do I have that later has brought to me? And I know that that is the question to ask that's kind of fear-based. So actually, now that I say it, I don't really like it that much, but it is definitely the question that we'll ask, is what I'm doing now going to get me what I want or need for my future? Because later is actually my future. But if I'm not creating my future today, it's not going to exist. So I got to create my future today. So here the solution is we can try the free samplers in savings and budgeting, or the pillars that are coming up in savings and budgeting. And that will help us look at and clean up where we have gaps in our current situation, so that we can say, oh, okay, I know what steps to take forward now and where I'm missing information and how I can create it to work for me. So if we have number one, avoidance, thinking, oh, I'll do my money stuff later, then ask yourself the outcome of this path and do the savings budgeting free sampler over at moneymind.global to check where you're at in this area of avoidance, and just see some little areas that you might be able to shift or make changes to improve your own financial life if you decide. So for a lot of us, if we're avoiding, it feels really huge. Where I started out changing my financial life and future was I started out in this area as a money avoider. I started expense tracking, and that was it. Nothing else, no other changes, no like investing changes, no big budgets, nothing except expense tracking. For me, that was the smallest first step to stopping avoiding money stuff. Now, what I needed to do was just look at my day and start writing down what I spend as I spend it. At the time, I had a little notepad thing and I did it on that. Now I have a budgeting app called iExpense-It, and I just put it in on that. So however you track the expenses of a day, what you can do right now as one action step, if you're a money avoider, can start tracking your expenses today. Now, this is just the first of a few steps that you will end up taking after you've tracked your expenses for like 1 day, and then keep going for a week, and then try and keep going for like 3 months. So if you can do that for 1 day, you'll notice, oh, this is how much I'm spending in a day. If you do it for 1 week, you'll notice I spend quite a lot on this particular area, right? When you tally the numbers, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm spending a lot on like coffee, but not really coffee, just like the cakes and stuff that I buy on top of the coffee, which is my experience. So then if we track it for 3 months, we'll know what we're spending, our basic necessities, and have a really good platform to decide how we want to move forward, whether we want to apply a no budget or try some other type of budgeting or whatever it may be. But once we start expense tracking just for today, it will set us on the path towards the future that we want, which is to be financially free and not have to stress about money in terms of our basic personal finances. So that is my opinion only, not advice, but this is just what I learned on my journey, having to build my financial foundations and confidence from being a money avoider into becoming much more successful and confident with money. And it's not necessarily just a numeric thing, it's a mindset thing. So back then, I could make money, but not know how to turn that money into more money. Now I can make money and know exactly how to turn that money into more money and know exactly my money personality and risk that I'm willing to take on board. So you can see some of my other broadcasts, and you can also go over to moneymind.global and look at my blog where I have some posts on previous broadcasts, like your money personality. Do you know your money personality? What is it? So a lot of us as avoiders, money avoiders, which is the number one huge of 3 huge money mistakes that you can make. If you don't know your money personality, you might want to go to the blog at moneymind.global and just have a read of it and see if you can check your money personality there by doing the free samplers over at MoneyMind Global as well. So see if any of the information that we have over at the website is helpful for you. Try the free samplers to get a bit of an insight on where you have gaps. And then you can read the blogs to see if they help reveal any insights on your current status of your money personality. So getting to know yourself, like getting to know your fashion or your style that really suits you, is going to take a while, but you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start by exploring. And what you're currently doing now counts. So what you're currently wearing now, what you're currently doing now with your money is how you currently are and your current money personality, which is based on your current habits. So if you want to change them, you need to decide to change them. They don't just sort of change on their own. Even if we don't consciously make the decision to change what we're doing, we make a subtle decision. So say I gain 20 pounds, I will subtly decide to buy looser clothes, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, I gained 20 pounds, so I definitely need to buy looser clothes because this strategic reason. I'll just be like, oh, my clothes don't fit, I'm going to buy bigger clothes. And that decision is still a decision, right? Even if I don't think, oh, my clothes don't fit, even if I just think, oh, my shirt is tight, and then just go ahead and buy. It's still a subtle decision process that I have gone through to make a change or make a different decision. And we'll usually do this to make ourselves feel comfortable or safe in some way. So if you look at your current clothing, you look at your current personality, and you look at your current money personality, that is just based on your previous habits and what you have been doing so far that has either made you feel safe or just become a habit. Now, we can have bad habits too that don't really serve us. And we'll go into that in a lot of other broadcasts as well, in terms of cleaning up our mindsets around money. But for now, because this has gone on for ages, back to the 3 huge money mistakes that people make and their solutions. Number 1, avoidance. If you have money avoidance and you think it'll work out, check yourself and see whether you could maybe start with expense tracking to make a change in your money life, right? If you're in a money avoider, you want to ask yourself, am I saying I'll do this later? And if I keep doing what I'm doing now, what is the outcome of this path if I keep doing it? It's probably not going to be super good. If you're watching this and like, oh yeah, right? Otherwise, if you're watching this and you're like, no, I totally got my money sorted out, then Money Mind is not for you because you got your stuff sorted out. And I want everyone to have their stuff sorted out so that they can live their lives in financial freedom and do what they love doing instead of having to worry about money, which I see all the time. And it's because these basic steps are not in place. So just a quick recap of Money Mind's 5 pillars, which I share in a lot of broadcasts, but I haven't in this one. I'm so sorry. Money Mind has 5 pillars of financial stability: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. I really should have said this at the start of the broadcast. I'm so sorry. But those 5 pillars of money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy are my 5-pillar framework for just having financial stability. I realized if you've got these in place, then you're on a really good track for being able to build on that and become better at every area, or just make sure that they're sorted. Because if you have these sorted, then you're going to be okay with your money stuff. If you've got great savings, if you've got great investments, if you've got your wills and legacy in place, if you've got your budgeting and expense tracking sorted, I mean, like, how are you going to go wrong, really? Unless you do the number 3 huge money mistake, which is too much risk. So back to the topic. Sorry, this is so all over the place. I'll make a little summary as well that is more succinct, hopefully. 3 huge money mistakes and the solutions, okay? 1, avoidance. And you can try and hack this by expense tracking, starting with expense tracking. Do the free samplers of savings and budgeting. All of these are including the free samplers of saving, saving and budgeting, saving and investing. So you can go over to moneymind.global and try out that sampler. So number 1, avoidance. Number 2, not investing. Number 3, too much risk. Not investing, a lot of us will feel like we don't know enough to make investment decisions. What we need to know is our risk profiling questionnaire. And we can go to the bank, get that done for free, and will tell us our risk tolerance in terms of investments. That is something really key to know about our money personality. As I mentioned, we have blogs, and I have a previous broadcast you want to check out because you want to know your money personality. Like, what is it? So if you are not investing, thebalance.com says on average, if you're investing for like 25 years, you'll have like 600,000 US dollars. So that's 600,000 US dollars. You're investing like $500 a month, right? So that is money you will not have if you're not investing, right? And that is generally the very, very bare minimum that you want to have towards your retirement. For a lot of millennials now, it's at least $1 million. So that's like poverty line level minimums. So a lot of us are just kind of, number 1, avoiding that and not investing. So 3 huge money mistakes that people make: avoiding, not investing, and taking on too much risk. Okay, so avoidance we can hack with expense tracking. Investing we can hack by educating ourselves and letting ourselves know that this area is safe to move forward in, getting advice if we need from either a financial advisor or our bank advisor, making sure that we're not just sold random stuff that we don't know about. Okay, so we always want to make sure that we are our best advocate, and that if we go into a bank and they start trying to sell us like random insurance and stuff really hard, it might be because they're making a commission on it. So be really wary and make sure you check with a few people whether things are right for you, and always get advice on any financial decisions. Nothing here is financial decision and nothing here is financial advice. These are just my opinions based on my journey, going through my growth journey of being insecure and then finding my financial foundations and building these 5 pillars of financial stability: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy, and using them as a template to make my financial foundations secure, and then sharing them with other people, because I was like, oh, this is really plug and play, and it makes everything else seem so much simpler. So that information is all over at moneymind.global. Back to the 3 huge money mistakes people make: avoidance, not investing, and too much risk. If you are not investing, there's a chance you may be a saver who has a lot of savings and is just sitting there depreciating in the bank. You can educate yourself on investing. You can start to get advice from financial advisors. You can just really start to join groups on Instagram, on Facebook, that are talking about building rather than get rich quick. And just start getting yourself up to speed in terms of what to do with your money. Now, if you don't know where to start and you are on Instagram, go to my Instagram, moneymind.global. So it's at moneymind.global on Instagram. Look at who I follow, and you will find a list of super amazing financial literacy education Instagrams. Follow like 10 of them and make sure that you see them in your feed, and that will help you start to grow your information around this area. People like Delane, the money coach, or the finance 101, or other people, the financial diet, other people like that. Go to my Instagram, click on who I follow, and there will be a list of people there that you can follow too, to educate yourself on finance and investing in a way that is really practical and informative and useful and relevant. Okay, so there'll be all these different people, all these different styles. Please go over to my Instagram, click on the followers, and educate yourself if you are not investing, because you need to be investing, because otherwise you will have no financial future stability. The savings will deflate, and real inflation, real depreciation will cause it to become much less than it is today. So inflation will just eat at your money like a hungry rat. And we invest because while there is risk, it will at least counterbalance the hungry rat eating. It will at least hopefully grow a little bit more than the hungry rat of inflation eating at our money. Okay, so we're kind of like constantly doing this little chase. The little rat is eating our money, and we want to be constantly trying to run away from the rat. That's what we want to be doing. But if we have it just sitting there in our bank account, the rat is just eating it. It's just gobbling our money. Okay, so that's how inflation works in terms of sitting in our bank account with money, real depreciating. So the 3 huge money mistakes that people make: avoidance. You can solve this by starting expense tracking as the smallest first step, if you like. That's what I did. Not investing. And you can hack this by educating yourself a little bit more on investing, taking financial advice from financial advisors, getting started, pumping up your Roth IRA, whatever it may be in terms of your getting started in investing. If you haven't started anywhere, you can just start with like employer matched contributions and things like that. Like just start with something that is the right style for you and makes sense for your financial situation based on advice from a financial advisor. Obviously not from just me, some random person who doesn't have any qualifications on Instagram. But I'm sharing my own opinions only and thoughts on my own journey, building my financial confidence and launching a financial literacy social enterprise called MoneyMind over at moneymind.global. So we have free samplers over there. You can check yourself, see where you're at with the free samplers. And then I'm going to be building a whole bunch of stuff over this year that's going to be free trials and courses and things and stuff, as well as paid courses that you can buy to get the most value. But you have to be able to take those steps and ready to make little changes in your life to reach a different goal. If you're not ready for this, just keep watching the videos, keep trying to educate yourself. You'll be ready to make small changes when you're ready. And that is totally okay, right? For most of us, it will be when we are ready. And that's the only time that things will stick, when we are able to make those changes. Now, I wanted to just mention here, when we're ready isn't later. Okay, the later thing, that's not a thing. It's not like, oh, after, this happens or after that happens. Sometimes we will never feel ready, but it will be the right time for like large periods of time, but we just won't feel like, oh, it's a good time to do this. Now, what's great about moneymind.global is that it's so tiny that you can start today in any area of your life, and it is implementable, because the little hacks that we mention implementing, you don't need to move anything else around in your life. The courses, the paid courses, are 1 hour long. The free samplers are 10 minutes long. You have 10 minutes. My friends who are traders on like financial markets have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. I know you have 10 minutes because I know people who have like 6 kids and they have 10 minutes. I know it's a very difficult 10 minutes to get, but you can make time for things if you need to make time for them. So I know it's hard, but that's why moneymind.global makes this tiny, 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 smallest steps possible to affect some change if we want to change our future. Tiny, tiny step at a time. So 3 huge money mistakes and some potential solutions. 1, avoidance. Solution: you can start expense tracking on your daily expenses. That's how I started with my money avoidance, and that should be able to lead you in a direction that you can start to gain confidence, which is when you can start to take the next steps. So you can check out the savings and budgeting pillars, the free samplers, over at moneymind.global. Number 2 huge money mistakes people make is not investing. You can check out the free samplers of saving and investing if you haven't started investing. And you might want to just educate yourself gently and slowly on Instagram or wherever it may be, watching this, reading our blog, reading other blogs, following the people that I have listed on my Instagram, on my people that I follow on my Instagram. They're all financial bloggers. Well, most of them are. I mean, some friends and fans but you can look and find some really great people in my people that I follow at moneymind.global on Instagram. And that's at moneymind.global. So if you're not investing, if you're avoiding, huge money mistake. If you're not investing, huge money mistake. And if you are taking on too much risk, that is a massive money mistake as well. So what we need to do if we're doing the third huge money mistake, and we'll often be doing like all of them, because if we don't know what we're doing, we'll sometimes fall into the trap of taking on too much risk, or if we get greedy. And that's fine if we want to be able to be high risk takers who are greedy to get gains, but we also want to know the loss that is potentially involved. So, avoidance, not investing, and taking on too much risk. We need to know if we're taking on too much risk, and this will usually be if we're like a bit more advanced. But if we're taking on too much risk, we probably want to know our risk tolerance, which will likely be super high if we're taking on too much risk. Now, if our risk tolerance is not super high and we're taking on too much risk, we definitely may want to check that out with our financial advisors and say, I need to balance my portfolio and I need to make sure this is more diversified, more balance weighted, and less risky. Because if you're not comfortable with it, it will be very stressful and you will feel so like you'll feel so regretful if things don't go your way. And markets go up and down, right? Things can totally not go our way. We're just trying to hedge our bets and make sure that, that hungry rat of inflation, and we're trying to run away from it like gradually. We just want to keep it like slightly above the hungry rat of inflation, or quite a bit above the hungry rat. But we want to be on top of being able to be away from what will damage us. So we want to kind of counterbalance that in our financial lives generally, as my opinion. But what we want to know is if we're taking on too much risk, okay, we want to know our risk tolerance. We need to know like how much time we're investing something for. We need to have a strategy, and that type of thing is really good for us to keep in mind. So for example, you decide that you're going to take out all your savings and put it into crypto. You need to get financial advice on that. That's my opinion. Okay, I'm not giving advice on this, but I'm just saying that that is some crazy risk to take. And that a lot of people who are already making a lot of money in crypto, there's reasons for that. Some of them are new and naturally inclined in this area, and they are able to read the markets well and make decisions and time it. And those are skills that they have. Do you have those skills? Because saying, oh, Beyonce can sing and I can sing. It's not about the singing. It's about the skills that you both have that are different. Beyonce organizes all of her own concerts. One woman constructs and organizes the whole thing. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not know how to do that yet. I don't want to know how to do that either, but like it's a lot. And I can't do choreography. Like there's so much stuff that just I can't do that Beyonce can do. Even if I can sing as well as Beyonce, the other stuff that she does, managing her business, hiring a team, getting things sorted, that stuff that we don't see is the stuff that makes people different to us. So we need to ask, do I have the business skills? Do I have the trading acumen? Do I have the mathematical projective ability or behavioral bias awareness to be able to time the markets, to be able to do well at crypto? So some of us will buy crypto and be like, oh, I'm just going to buy crypto and hold crypto, because we don't really know how to do it another way. And we need to know whether that is right for our portfolio. So if we have a really safe, stable, diversified portfolio and then invest a whole bunch in crypto, awesome. Our financial advisors are probably going to be like, awesome. But if we put all our retirement savings in crypto, I'm sorry, man, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's just crazy. That is crazy. And it's just so high risk. I have a super high risk tolerance, and I think that's crazy. So I think that this area, too much risk, is a really viable danger right now, with a lot of us wanting to get rich quick and not miss the bus in terms of like the Bitcoin or all the other coins or crap coins or whatever it may be. And we might have FOMO. So if you have FOMO about crypto and NFTs, go over to my blog at moneymind.global, and I have a blog there and a little video there about what you need to know before you invest in crypto and NFTs, mostly just your own personality, your money personality. Do you have a full portfolio and then you're investing in heavily risky crypto and NFTs? Because if you don't, then you might need to know your money personality and risk tolerance and your strategy. And if you don't know that, then you want to know that, just generally. That's essentially what it says in the blog. So you need to know yourself and your own money personality, generally in life, and also especially if you're taking on risk, because you want to know how much risk you're comfortable with. So when you can ask yourself, am I taking on too much risk in terms of those 3 huge money mistakes? 1, avoidance. 2, not investing. 3, too much risk. If you're taking on number 3, too much risk, ask yourself, with this strategy that I have now, am I comfortable losing it all? If you are not comfortable losing it all, then you may have taken on too much risk. So say if I have my portfolio and I have this blob of like crypto meta, like not, Facebook, like the metaverse investment here, if I lose all of that, my portfolio is fine. I mean, it's not great. Like I've just lost a whole chunk of my portfolio. I mean, like lame, but I'm fine. Are you fine in your portfolio? And you should be able to answer that like super yes or no, pretty much like right now. Okay? Because if you don't know, then you don't know how much risk you've taken on, and it may be a lot of risk. You don't know. If your investment advisor is like 20 years old and is like, oh, hey, I'm super into crypto right now, you should diversify into crypto and have like 50% of your portfolio crypto, you need to be comfortable with that. Okay? Because that's not his money, that's your money. And if you're comfortable with that, that's your decision, but it's up to you. So you need to know yourself and know how much risk you're taking on and be comfortable with that risk. However, 3 huge money mistakes that people make are avoiding their money, thinking it'll work out later somehow, not really realizing the outcome of this path is probably not super. Then they'll not invest because they're scared or waiting for later. You wait like 2, 3, 10 years, and suddenly you will have lost tens of thousands of dollars in gains that you could have had if you just invested like $20 a month. Too much risk. If you're taking on too much risk, if you don't know how much risk you have in your portfolio right now, or you look at your portfolio and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to invest like everything into some really high risk area, this is super, 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 super not like aligned with financial stability foundations. Okay, so over at moneymind.global, we talk about the five pillars of financial stability: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. None of these require like crazy risk. Okay, your money mindset, you just want safe and comfortable stability in terms of how you're thinking, positive growth mindsets. With your savings, you want to be saving regularly in a routine way that is sustainable. With your budgeting, you want to know where your money's going, and you can use a zero budget or whatever works for you with your budgeting, just to know where your money's going. With your investing, you want to have a good, healthy, diversified portfolio, and you want to have whatever type of diversification suits your risk profiling questionnaire with your timeline, your goals, your money life cycle. Wills and legacy, you just got to have that done. Man, like if you're over 18, you don't know about wills and legacy, meaning that your family, if you don't have a will be stuck arguing with the government that they're your family and you want them to sort out your stuff. You just need to do a will, man. It's terrible. Probate, you can get your family stuck in arguing about your stuff for like years. Just get a will. It takes like an hour with a lawyer. Just pay the money and get a will, or just sort it out somehow. Do your will. So these are simple, applicable plug and play pillars that anyone can use to check their own situation right now. You can go over and try the free samplers in all of these areas at moneymind.global. But you can also try for, if you are in making huge money mistakes in any of these areas, then you might want to try, especially the savings, budgeting, and investing free samplers to see where you're at. Savings, budgeting, and investing free samplers to see where you are currently at in your money stability situation. They're free, like they're 10 minutes each. So you can spend 10 minutes having a coffee and watching this, and you'll be like, oh, wow, I now know that I don't have, one of these two things in place, and I can just totally do that now. So that's why that free samplers format is so quick and easy. It will just ask you 3 questions and you can just answer them. And if you're fine in that area, then awesome. And if you're not, then you can be like, okay, what steps do I need to take to make sure that that's ticked off? Super, super simple. It's pretty much just a framework for like a checklist. Are you good? Are you good in this area? It's like we would ask about ourselves and our fitness or our health. Like, am I eating well? Am I exercising? Am I like looking after my mental health and wellness in some way? Like, it's pretty easy to just use a checklist and just check, am I good in this area? And that's what these 5 pillars of Money Mind are. They're just pretty much a checklist. You can do the free samplers over at moneymind.global. And for today's topic, 3 huge money mistakes that people make. 1, avoidance. Thinking it'll work out later. It is unlikely to. Okay? You won't just get lucky and suddenly everything will work out. You got to make it work out. And it can be very easy to just redirect your boat. If you're scared about it, start with expense tracking and then just start building from there. Check out my blogs and other broadcasts on this area if you're a bit intimidated by money, just so we can talk about it a little bit. You can feel less intimidated because it's totally not that overwhelming and difficult as a lot of people make it seem. Like, it really isn't. The basics of personal finance, you can totally do this. Like, you can sort it out like within a week or a month. A week if you're like super intense, but like a month if you're like, okay, I'll just do 1 pillar every week. Within a month, like 5 pillars, you'll have sorted out your financial foundations. Like, that's a month, man. I'd totally do that. I would totally buy that. And it's like the whole course, each pillar themselves is like $49 US. I mean, come on. And that's the current price right now after we've just launched this year. So the prices will go up later as we keep adding content over the years. But right now, it's like a total steal. The first mindset pillar is out now, and then we will sequentially launch the rest of them. But you can buy them now at the current prices and then be notified when each of them launches. So, I mean, totally good buy. It's a good buy for the results that you can get from just applying this and just taken a tiny little bit of action in your life. And we just guide you through it to make it as easy as possible, because I realized this doesn't need to be hard. And I stressed and felt so emotionally insecure about it for so many years that I didn't make progress. And what we want is progress. And so all we need to know to make progress is our money personality, our current habits, and what we want to do differently. I mean, why has the whole financial world made me like feel like it's way more complicated than that? It gets more complicated than that, but the beginning starter steps like super aren't. They're just that simple. Like, what? Why? The world is live to me. So anyways, what we need to know is 3 huge money mistakes. Avoidance, we can sort that out by starting to expense track. Not investing, educate yourself and get some information on what would make you more comfortable taking steps investing, even if it's just investing in your own IRA or MPF or whatever it may be. And you also want to make sure you have things like your emergency fund sorted out, 3 to 6 months savings in your emergency fund. You need to have your savings pillar sorted out, probably before investing, to be honest, because that's just my opinion. Because you just need your 3 to 6 month emergency fund in place in case you ever have an emergency. Like, that's just kind of a given, I think. But then maybe I've watched like way too much Dave Ramsey, and so I'm like brainwashed that that's really like the thing you need. So anyway, so if you're not investing, you can just start educating yourself. You can follow people that I am following on Instagram at moneymind.global, and you can just find what works for you in terms of starting to let yourself know that there are simple, easy ways that you can invest that are lower risk and better for you than doing nothing. And then too much risk. You got to ask yourself, am I taking on too much risk in my financial life? And if the answer is yes, or like, okay, so the way to find out if the answer is yes on whether you're taking up too much risk in your portfolio and in your money life generally, if I lose this, is that okay? Am I all right? Is my financial life okay? If the answer is no, then you might be taking on too much risk. And the example I gave was that if you invest like your whole retirement savings into like a restaurant, like Gordon Ramsay style, right? Or you like Gordon Ramsay kitchen nightmare style, or you invest all of your retirement savings into crypto, or whatever it may be, without knowing what you're doing. Okay, that's the thing. Kitchen nightmares is only because they don't know what they're doing, but it needs to be a choice that we're comfortable with, and that we know we're taking on this risk, and we're aware that we may lose it all. So if you're taking on too much risk, you might want to consider seeing a financial advisor, diversifying your portfolio. You can also go and see a bank advisor that you trust that isn't going to try and sell you all kinds of weird crap, and see how you can make sure that your financial life is diversified as advised by a financial professional. So just so you know, that is the wrap up for the 3 huge money mistakes that people make. I will make a shorter video of this because, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This was super, super long. I will make a summary and I will put it into a blog post that you can see the little video of. I'll do that now. 3 huge money mistakes that people make and their solutions. We've recapped all of those. Avoidance, not investing, too much risk. If you make sure that you're not making these money mistakes, you will be in a much better position to be aware of the financial choices that you want to be making and move forward in a path that is more financially stable, which is what we all want long term. So I'm Raven, long-winded Raven. My goodness. And this topic was 3 huge money mistakes and their solutions, potential solutions, not advice. And I am the founder of Financial Literacy Social Enterprise, MoneyMind, at moneymind.global. So the Instagram is moneymind.global. The website is www.moneymind.global. And thank you so much for watching this extremely long ramble. I will make the blog now, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.